9 o'clock. Nailed it. Hit it exactly at the top of the hour here on this Thursday. Welcome to Midnight Movie Talk. I'm Eric Weber as we discuss a movie that when we closed things out last night, I said, I am not going to see this film. I have no interest in seeing the film that we're about ready to talk about. But I did it to myself. I forced myself to go see Fantastic Beasts with a bunch of zzz, because it is one of the most boring films that I have sat through in forever. Okay, listen, I freely admit a few things. I'm very good about admitting things versus covering them up. I will be very forthcoming, and I'll tell you I never saw Fantastic Beasts 1 or 2. So when you walk into a franchise that obviously you're familiar with Harry Potter and the world of the wizarding world, but I wasn't, familiar with a lot of these characters from 1 and 2. Admittedly, that might have been an issue paying attention to the film. But I'm just saying, from a very outsider view, sitting down for Fantastic Beasts Part 3, the introduction to this film is one of the slowest, just leisurely paced things that has absolutely no tension to it at all. They attempt to build some tension as they're looking for some magical fawn. Okay, it's like a magical deer. I can't wait for the comments because you're going to tell me all the mythology of this thing. But anyhow, there's a magical deer that apparently was about ready to be killed by the bad guys, and then they saved the babies. There's 2 of them. I'm already going way too far down this road. Let me just explain that the beginning of this movie is the antithesis of a Bond film. You know, a Bond film opens with a bang. Fantastic Beasts literally starts and they put you in a coma. I mean, it is just really brutal, this film. I tell you, and once we get past that, then we have a very long-winded intro into the characters and where they are and how we have to, save the world. The same shit that we see in so many films. I just don't understand why Warner Brothers bothered to make this film. If you look at the last 2, box office on both of the first 2 Fantastic Beasts, the first one to the second and now to the third, it's going to drop. It's going down, which signals people are done. And yet, here we are with part 3. I mean, if you really want to pick out some things that are good, Jude Law is very good. Mads is very good. Okay, those are 2 solid things from this film. Eddie Redmayne, okay, I used to like him. After watching this and the way that he talks in this film, I can't do it justice. I'd love to. I'm going to try. You have to suck your teeth in a little bit and say, well, Dumbledore, I can't. I can't. I'm not going to do it. I just know that if you've watched the trailer, you know what I'm talking about. The way that he voices and gives life to this character is annoying, okay? And this whole movie is a complete slog across the board outside of Mads and Jude. That's it. The rest of it is just useless, and it's 2.5 hours long. Another movie that no one bothered to say, get it down. Cut it down to 150 or less. I knew my instincts. Always trust your instincts. If I can leave you with one important message whenever you watch something from me, that is the number one message I want to impart on you. Listen to your instincts. My instincts were stay away from Fantastic Beasts 3. Boring as hell. Quadruple Z's. I think I have 6 there. My score, 50%. I mean, I have not given a 50% to a film in a very long time. I'm usually pretty fair. I at least try to get it to 60, 65. But this film, really, I wanted to walk out. I stuck with it only so I could actually discuss the film at length versus saying I walked out. Because I told you, once you shut off a movie or you walk out, you can't discuss it. How can you talk about a movie other than saying you didn't finish it? So now that I finished the film, I can tell you that it is absolutely not worth your time. There are so many better film. Even Sonic 2 is better, and you know I'm not a huge fan of Sonic 2, but it's still a better film than Fantastic Beasts 3. Okay, everything about this film is just not good to put it nicely. Again, don't know why I wasted my time. For you guys, I suffered for the art of the midnight movie talk. I suffered through Fantastic Beasts that, for me, a 50% is an F. It is an F grade for this film. Now, I wanted to go through a few reviews because I want to see, I did not look at Rotten Tomatoes, so I want to see if other critics saw the same movie. I think that's a really interesting experiment. I try to stay away from Rotten Tomatoes until I have issued a verdict, my personal verdict, so then I can go back in and look. So let's pull up one of, let's just go right to the Rotten Tomatoes. Here we go. I'm going to scroll down and we're going to look. It's at 52%. That's a terrible grade. Okay, so that is good. So far, so good as far as the Rotten Tomatoes score. I'm liking that. I had it at 50%. Now, as you guys know, 52% is not the grade that the critics gave it. It's 52% of critics said they gave it a fresh score. Conversely, 48% said it's rotten. Oh, mine's absolutely rotten. No question about it. Let's go down and just look for a few and see where's a fresh review. Third time's a charm for Fantastic Beasts series, which took 3 tries to finally produce something that feels like a complete movie. If Chris Hewitt from the Minneapolis Star Tribune, I didn't see part 1 and 2, but from what you just told me, part 1 and 2 must be very near the worst films ever made. That's the only way I could consider 3 to be an improvement of anything. Okay, I'm going to go to the rotten because at least I can gel with these people. I'm sure they nailed it, just like I did. Boring as hell. Although everyone seems to think it's an improvement over the last film. Thank God I didn't see the second one. I can't even imagine. But some of these grades, 1.5 out of 4, C minus, 2.5 out of 5, it's a 50%. Most of the D, C, yeah, this is D, 3.8 out of 10. Nice job, Jacob Aller from Paste Magazine. Very good. Anything remotely resembling Harry Potter will make money, even if it's a dull piece of first draft hack work. It is absolutely. You look at the script and you're watching this going, this isn't, who okayed this? Who at Warner Brothers thought that this was what we should make? And I don't know what the production budget was on this, but you could make so many other films that are better than this. And you just wasted the time and energy of everyone involved to make a forgettable at best, horrible at worst film that is not going to be well received. It's going to get a terrible cinema score. And when I say that, I mean like a B or B minus or lower. Even a B plus is too high for this film. That's a bad cinema score. Wait for that tomorrow when it comes out. And I think what you're going to see box office wise as we discuss this is that it's going to do decent tonight. It'll do okay Friday, and then it'll just fall off because the word of mouth is going to be like what I'm telling you here tonight. The only reason I went to see it, again, being forthcoming, is because I have the A-list. I have AMC's $24 a month, go see 12 movies. I did not go to a press screening of this. In fact, Warner Brothers did not invite me because I've been trashing the film nonstop on Twitter, saying how bad is it going to crash? How bad is this thing going to tank? Because I feel it. I know it. It's not going to do well. There's no desire for this film. Whenever I watched the trailer in front of the films I saw over the last few months, everybody was just like flat, not even any emotion from anyone around me. You can kind of get an idea. Like they showed Top Gun Maverick. They showed a new like Dolby sneak preview of it today in front of my film, and I think that's a smart move. But it looks really good, and you could hear people go, this looks cool. You didn't get that with Fantastic Beasts. So I'm happy to see that at least a lot of my fellow critics say this is a bad film, because it is. It is not good. I wish I could find, I'm going to go back and look for like the absolute worst review, but I can just tell you without doubt right now, it is the worst film I've seen this year. Okay, it's not even close. So I'm glad I saw it, so at least I can comment on it. And now it's time for your comments. Let's get to it. I don't have much more to say about the film. It's one of those films that I literally wanted to walk out of. I was zoned out. I was disinterested. The action's boring. Again, the performances are the only thing that are decent, but Redmayne bugs. And I told you Jude and Mads are good. That's it. The rest of it is just ridiculous. And yeah, exactly. Why did I torture myself? I don't know. For this, so I could actually discuss the film. That's why I went, because I knew I was not going to like it, and I probably shouldn't admit that, but I'm going to say that sometimes you go in and you just know that you're probably not going to gel with the film. But I didn't try to dislike it. I really gave it a shot, but within the first 25, 30 minutes of a 2.5-hour movie, I knew that this thing was going to go down hard. You just know it. You're not hooked in. It's such a slog of an entrance. I can't even believe this is how they decided to enter the film. That alone is worthy of trashing the film. You can't screw up the beginning of a film. That's how you get hooked. That's how you get people to watch your film, especially when it shows up on streaming, HBO Max. People are going to turn this on. They're going to turn it off because you don't even want to stay with it after the first 10 minutes. I was there. I drove down to the theater. I sat down. I was sitting next to a guy who was eating literally 68 tubs of popcorn. That was annoying too, but it did not affect my review, okay? And he actually... This is funny. So that he literally brought his own shaker of, I don't know what it is, the popcorn seasoning, and he was dumping it onto his popcorn. I'm not just literally just took the cap off. Like, here we go. Let's just get more salt and crap on that. So that was annoying too. I moved seats. I literally went from the fourth row at AMC Burbank, Dolby, which, by the way, best screen in LA. I moved from the first row back to side where I could take 2 seats. If you've seen my picture I sent on Twitter, I was crashed out like I was on a sofa. I put up the armrest and I was just leaning down. Such a boring, god damn, that was a boring waste of time. Most forgettable trilogy of all time. Jay, I would say that is fair. I'd have to think about that. I can't believe this has 3 films. I don't ever want to revisit 1 or 2 at this rate. Maybe I would have enjoyed 3 that much better had I seen the first 2, but I really feel like even when you're making a sequel, you have to make it accessible for people who have not seen the other films. And in this case, I don't even think they do that good of a job of reintroducing characters. I don't think you have to go through the whole movie again and say, here's character A, B, C, D. But a little bit more than that, a little bit, because you're going to have people that walk in like myself that really don't have any idea other than the characters from Harry Potter and some knowledge of the wizarding world, but not intimate knowledge of all these characters. The film doesn't even do that. They just get into it, and it's just again, the slowest, dullest intro to a film I can recall recently. What do you think of Warner Brothers Discovery doing an overhaul on DC films? I heard about that. Here's what I will say. You think it's a mistake. I will agree with one thing, that for sure, DC and Warner Brothers DC, they need to get one person like a Kevin Feige, who's a point person, who is really the end all. So when there's a discussion about if we're going to do XYZ, this person, whoever is really steeped in DC knowledge, is able to say, this is our plan, this is our vision going forward with all of these different characters, so that we can tie it all together more than kind of just here's this, here's that, here's this. And I think another thing I read is that they're looking for somebody who can take advantage of some of the minor characters, like they did with Harley Quinn. Birds of Prey did not work. We know that. But we saw Joker did. But that's still disconnected, right? Because that's set in the 80s. So you're looking for somebody who can figure out how to work all these things and have it all be part of one giant tapestry, right? A DC tapestry, just like Marvel has done. Marvel and Kevin Feige, I've spoken to Kevin Feige. That's a man who is obviously very knowledgeable about what he's doing in that universe. He's very specific in his head what he wants to get done, and I think that this is a fair criticism of Warner Brothers and DC's. They don't have that. They have a bunch of different people saying, yeah, try that, do this. And you really need to get more of one person. I get that feeling with Warner Brothers, even though I'm a general fan of Warner Brothers. I do think that there's less leadership there. I don't feel the leadership at Warner's, and certainly with the DC, that I do with Marvel. Everyone agrees that Kevin Feige is the man at Marvel, and everyone knows that, and he is the final say. And you can tell the difference between a Kevin Feige Marvel movie and a Sony Marvel movie. Feige would never even let, even get to that point. They wouldn't even let Morbius get to that point. They would just say, we're not doing this the way you want to do it. We're going to try this and this. They get different people in there to make it more accessible to the universe, right? The MCU. I mean, it's not even part of it. Morbius feels like it's just another film. It's not even anything to do with comic books. I mean, really, when you look at that film. And that's because Kevin Feige wasn't directly involved, as he would be if that were a Marvel Disney movie versus a Sony Marvel movie. Let's go back to Fantastic Beasts. Good question, though, about DC. I wanted to get to that. The first one is okay. Maybe that's true. I would hope the first one would be good enough to warrant a sequel. The second one suffered from an inevitable forced sequel effect, and the third is absolutely going to be a cash grab, but it's not even going to be a cash grab, right, Nick? It's just going to be a film that is not going to do that well. I mean, they're talking $40 million for projection of 40, let's say 45. That's not great over Easter weekend when you have families that are looking for things. This isn't a family film, by the way, unless you consider animal sacrifice like part of the thing. You know, they grab the mystical fawn. I'm sorry, if I get into a spoiler, the movie sucks. So who cares if I spoil it? Is they have the fawn. And Mads has it, and he slits the wrist of the fawn, of the magical deer thing. And I was like, this is not a family film. You just literally slit the throat of a deer. But, you know, it's not even going to make money. To bring it back to that is when that happens, the families are like, they're out. So they're going to be pissed when they go to see this. So I don't know who the movie's for other than Harry Potter people who still dress up in all that whole garb and go up to Universal Studios and pretend that they're part of the whole world. That's cool. It's all good. But that's about the only people I could see. My screening was probably half full, and it was a very large. The Dolby Cinema in Burbank's huge, and it was probably half full. And I think I looked at some of the other screenings at the IMAX was 3/4 full. So if you look at that, if you're talking about like a No Way Home, that thing was sold out all afternoon. Started like I think 4, maybe it was 3 o'clock the day that it came out, that Thursday. Sold out all day. So you look at Fantastic Beasts, it's half full. And then, you know, some of those smaller screenings are probably even less than that. So I think you're looking at a number, let's say the weekend's 40. That would mean tonight the movie would make about, let's just say, $5 million tonight, maybe less than 5. And like I always tell you, Thursday night multiple could be in the range of a 10. In this case, probably a little less. So what you do is just take 4.5 and multiply by 10, you get to 45, right? Does that make sense? 4.5 tonight gives you 45 for the weekend. So that would be my guess is 45. If it goes above that, then they're going to be very happy. But I just don't know what the conversations were for Warner's when you're talking about making this movie. Like, why? Why'd you make it? I don't see a reason to make this film other than to just have content. But even that's not good enough. You can't just make things to have content. You have to have a specific vision and a reason to make a film. Because if it's to make content, then you get this, a forgettable, throwaway garbage film, really. I mean, there's, like I said, there's very little to talk about that's positive here. And when you take the talent of everyone involved here and the time to make a film and you give us this, no point. There's just not a point for this film to exist. There's no way there's a 4. No chance. I'll put that in stone. Boom. Lockdown. Just have a giant hand come and I go, Eric's lock. First round of the virtual bourbon. Yeah, I should. I really should break. I think I got a bottle of bourbon that's FYC gift. I'll go look for that. Oh, no. Chris Gore's here. Film Thread has entered the chat. Gore, you're up past your... No, you're not past your bedtime. I'm almost past my bedtime. Did you watch the movie? I just answered this. See, I read your mind, man. Do you think this will be the last Fantastic Beasts movie? I guarantee it. It's a lock. It's the stone cold lock. Eric says, no chance. There's going to be another one. Gore, what did you think of the movie? There's no way you thought it was good. Let's see. I was texting you during the movie. This is a true story. So I'm in the movie, and I told you I was really disinterested. I had already moved seats from the guy who's eating 6 tubs of popcorn and dumping a salt shaker worth of seasoning on top of his stuff. Like, I can't do this anymore. I got to move. And so I moved up to the side, and I never bring my phone out in a movie. Please do not consider me that guy. I'm not. But I was in a corner seat. You know how it's got the recline seating, the lazy boy seating, whatever that's called. And I'm sitting there and I have my phone like down in the angle because I saw the text came in and I really could care less what was happening at this point. I mean, I'm still like looking and then down and up. And I saw that it was Gore and he's like, hey, are you coming over to Yard House, which is where we usually go to see movies drink before we go to the movies. And I would have totally done that. I wish I had. And I said, good luck. You're dead meat when you go to see this movie because he was going to see it in like 2 hours from when I was in there. And I'm sure there's no way you thought this was a good movie, Chris. There's no chance. Look, I'm getting people on my stream here, Gore. They're saying, can I write for your site? Unbelievable. That's it. Gore's banned. You're no longer welcome here in the Midnight Movie Talk. Just kidding. Love you, buddy. Oh, hey, Aaliyah. This is a good question. Is the gay representation seem valid? No, I think it does. I think the very first scene is Jude Law and Mads. I think it's what, Dumbledore and I forget Mads' character. I apologize. But anyhow, this is another thing that the movie starts really slow, but it sets up that first scene where you see that they very clearly had a relationship in the past. And then it gets into some of the mythology. But I don't think it's that. I don't know. I think it's there. I think there's a reason for it to exist, no question. And I can see when I was watching it, I was thinking this is where China chopped, right? This is where they chopped it out, and I was just like, oh yeah, you could easily do that. You just cut here and here, and then it would just splice it, and we wouldn't even see it really. There's a few. It comes up later as well, but I don't think that it was. I think it was valid. I think it was part of the film. It was organic. I think I would just say it's organic, and sometimes it's not. When I saw Ambulance, if you guys have seen Ambulance, I one of my criticisms of the film, and I was talking about this with some guys last night when we were drinking before we went to go see Massive Talent, is when you watch Ambulance, in the middle of Ambulance, they show up, they're in a room, what do you call it, room, where they're having therapy. And it's a couple, it's a gay couple, and they're with their therapist, and they're talking about things. And then one of the characters turns out to be the FBI agent who's going off to chase down Jake Gyllenhaal. But that scene showed up out of nowhere, and it was really like jarring. The film was like rolling, and all of a sudden it's like you stop and you're in this therapy room, and you're like, what's going on here in the middle of Ambulance? I don't know what's happening. And then you see it, and it doesn't feel as organic. Okay, and I think that's what I look for when I know, Ali, you said valid. For me, it's organic. Does it work, and does it feel like forced, or does it feel organic? Does it feel like it's part of the film and it's not just like we're putting this in here, right? It has to be there. That I'm not a huge fan of, and that's what said Ambulance feels like that. This doesn't. This felt much more organic than Ambulance in that exact same, the way it fit in. I didn't have a problem with it at all. See, being honest with you guys, that's how it felt. Let's go to. Let me skip that one. Yeah, that's a good question. Let me get to Gore again. You there? Oh no, my comments are freezing. And just when I wanted to pull one up that was a good one here, Chris. I don't know what's happening. My computer's going to hell. But I think it's important that we talk about those things. I really am glad that you asked that, Aaliyah, because those are the things I love to talk about. I think we need to have more of those discussions because I know it's a tiptoe thing, right? You have to, I can't say this, I can't say that. But I think if you're saying it from the heart, being honest about it, and being truthful, these are the things that matter. And I think that I have no problem talking about that stuff. Let's go to here he is, Gore. Marvel's best days are behind it. I don't think so, Chris. I disagree. I know you're super savage on them right now, and I get it. I know why. I've listened to you. I know what your opinion is. I think that they're trying to put force too many things? We just talked about things being organic, right? Yes. They need to make things more organic versus forced, okay? But I think it's really going to be interesting to see what happens here with Doctor Strange 2. I want to get a good read on that film. I think we'll have an idea of where we're headed here, and the strength of this film will tell me everything about the next several films. If this film really does what I hope it's able to do with Sam Raimi back, doing this and back in the director's seat, I'm excited for that, just that alone. But we'll see what Kevin allowed him to do. But if it's got more of a horror tinge to it, then I'll be excited for that. But I think that this is a huge film. This will tell us what's going to happen with Marvel, because we just had our issues with Eternals. Obviously, we know No Way Home, that was Sony, but now we're back to Marvel, Disney, and I want to see what we get from this film. And I'm going to see it here in 2 weeks. I think the 2nd of May, and we'll talk about it then. Thank you, Chris. Slap the like button. Help me get over 1,000 subs. That's good. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Yes, that would be wonderful. Although I don't care. We could do this with like 10, 12 people. It's all good. That's fine with me too. Does Gandalf die at the end? You watched the movie. Don't ask me these questions, Gore. You watched it. You found the third one boring. The second one would have put you in a coma. Oh, no. See, this is why I'm never going back to revisit 2 or 1, because that's what they say 2 is worse than 3. How did they ever make it 3 if 2 was bad? Because This wasn't great, so I can't imagine how horrible 2 is. If it's worse than 3, that doesn't work. But, this is the only way I can recommend you going to see this movie is if you have A-list. If you do not have A-list, do not go see this movie, because that is to shell out $20 to see Fantastic Beasts, or let's say a family of 4, $75. Let's just, with food, drink, tickets. If you're in Middle America, it's less expensive than LA. Here it'd be at least 80 or more to go to the movie with your family. That's insane. To spend it on that, that's throwing money in the trash. Warner Brothers, you're better than this. I can't believe they did this. Warner Brothers, do make smarter decisions. Not this. They'd make some good ones. This one was a bad decision by Warner Brothers. And there go all my future press invites to Warner Brothers events. So what? Who cares? I'll see you Thursday. I don't care. Yeah, but Carlos, that's why, because I had the free A-list. That's why. For 2 reasons. 1, I had A-list, so it really was free. 2, I had free time. And 3, I wanted to talk about the film. And it's hard to do these discussions without seeing the film. I could just keep trashing it and saying that I think it's going to tank. But if I hadn't seen it, then that's not fair. I guess I still agree that it's not going to, I don't think it's going to do well even if it was good. It had to be really good to do well. This is none of those things. It's very bad, so therefore it's going to go the other way. So the answer is 1, A-list. 2, I want to do my research so I could talk about this film. And we talk about box office so much that when it doesn't do well, I can tell you why it didn't, because the average person's not going to like this movie. Only a Harry Potter fan will say it's good. It's going to get a low cinema score, which means people do not like the movie. Appreciate WB for at least providing a cure for insomnia. Not once, not twice, but thrice. Yeah, they can do that. They listen. As much as I love Warner Brothers and they take chances. You go back to the one that was based on the book. It was supposed to be a big awards film from a couple years ago. Oh man, what was the name of that thing? The blah. I'm gonna have to dig that one out. But it was supposed to be this big, awards film, and it was just not great. It was the director who did the Brooklyn. What God? All the stuff is just not there for me at the second. But you go back, you remember that film. It was supposed to be a big deal, and they took a swing at it. It did not work at all. Warner Brothers either has big hits, Batman, Joker, or it has things like this, and you have those issues where they just didn't work. But they did try. Reminiscence with Hugh Jackman from last year. They tried. That movie's not bad, but it's not as good as it could have been. But it's a studio that said, yes, we'll do this, and we'll give you a fair amount of money for a movie that really tanked when it looks at box office. But that was when they were putting it on HBO Max. How many times have we talked about this? If you give people a movie at home, then of course they're going to watch it at home. I would have watched... No, let me say this. I wouldn't have watched this at home. I would have turned it off. So the fact I was at a theater made me and forced me to get through this. It's good to know Warner Brothers is watching tonight. We're planning on making Fantastic Beats 4. There we go. That would be an interesting film. Fantastic Beats, based on the Dr. Dre headsets. God Almighty! Thank you, Warner Brothers, for joining the chat tonight. Good point on Doctor Strange. The origin stories from Marvel have come too formulaic. I haven't seen them all. Yeah. I think it's time to push the storylines ahead. The origin stories, especially, we know that Eternals was not a good movie. Let's just be honest. Come on. Be honest. Not a great film. Real shame for Chloe. Chloe's coming off of an Oscar, 2 Oscars, right? Picture and director, and then she gets this. And she's like, oh, man, I'm going to go make my own movie again. I'm never doing this again. I don't blame her. I mean, I think that's going to be tough for a director who had autonomy. They do their own thing. And that's why a lot of directors don't want to do Marvel, don't want to do DC, because they say, I don't want to be locked into the company, mold, right? You have to do the corporate shit. And a lot of these directors don't want to do it. When I talked to the Safdie brothers, said, hey, do you ever want to make a DC movie? This was when Joker was out. Do you want to do that? They said, no, we want to do our own thing. And they're doing something with Adam Sandler right now. I think, I've mentioned Rose Glass in the past. She's doing, she did Saint Maud, which is just blows you away. I can't imagine her wanting to do it. A lot of these artistic directors don't want to do DC. I think the guys who just did Everything Everywhere, someone asked them about a Marvel movie, said we didn't even take the call, because they know that when you get you say yes and you go, you're part of the, the Marvel machine. And if you don't want to be part of the machine, then you got to make your own film, and you got to go work with Neon or Focus or A24, obviously. These kind of smaller labels where they let you just do your thing and have very little input. I mean, of course they're going to have some input, but not like Marvel does, not like even Warner Brothers does. Marvel for sure, and Star Wars. How many people we've seen come into the Star Wars franchise and leave? Lord Miller started Solo, and look what happened with Solo. They bring Ron Howard in because apparently Kathleen Kennedy wasn't happy with the way that they were running the show. They were basically letting the actors kind of freelance and do improv, and these are some of the stories. I've talked to both Lord and Miller a couple times out at awards parties and whatnot, and I really I'd love to get to the bottom of that. I'd love to hear a podcast, but I feel like they're never going to talk about that because they know they still have to work in Hollywood, so they're not going to talk about that thing. But I guarantee you that they would just say that they had one vision and Kathleen Kennedy and Star Wars had another, and they both went their separate ways, mutual departure. Which is, I don't know. I don't know what the truth is, but I know that at the end of the day, that it's really about these directors being told you have to do X, Y, and Z, and some of the people don't want to. They want to do their own thing. I mean, I wouldn't be good in that situation either. You guys, you watch me here, you read my tweets. You think I'd be good at a corporate job? That's a good one. Rumor has it the new Doctor Strange is not very good. That's why they're showing it late for critics. I mean, I don't know. Benny C even admitted he wasn't sure he even has an arc in this one. Yeah, who knows what ended up in the film. It's weird that they are showing this late. They're debuting it on the 2nd of May. It comes out on that Thursday, so that's the 3, 4, 5, 6, right? The 6th, Thursday night. So it comes out on that, the 5th. Yeah, 5th, sorry. And so it comes out that Thursday. So you get on that Monday. That's a late window. Usually they do it the week before. So Disney would do it that April, whatever that first Monday or Tuesday of April, the last April. But then they do that. They're doing it later this time. They're doing it the same week, which is interesting. So that's either that the film they're not as confident in, or obviously there's a lot of things in the film that they don't want to have come out there. So there is that. Warner Brothers back in the chat saying we do take chances. There's no question about that. I agree 100% with you, Warner Brothers. You do take chances, and I applaud you for that. I just wish that you made better choices sometimes. But you're going to, when you swing for the fences every time, you're going to strike out. Fantastic Beasts 3 is a strikeout. And whatever that hell that movie, please someone jump on the chat. I'm too lazy to Google it right now. The movie from 2019, it was a book adaptation. They really thought it was going to be an awards film. It came out in September. I saw it, and it's the blank. I want to say it's a bird, some kind of bird. God, it's going to come to me all of a sudden. I'm like, that movie. They tried, and it didn't work, but at least they gave it, and they put a ton of money into it, whatever that bird movie was. Someone's going to have it, and I'm going to be like, yeah, it's going to pop in my head for whatever I just completely forgot all about it. When are you going to make a Batman Beyond movie? Yeah, that's a good question, Warner Brothers. Let's see. Can't say. All right. This is fun. I'll just go pop your comments up. It's like just read tweets. How well do you see Top Gun Maverick doing? On a technical level, it does look astounding. Again, today, in front of my movie, the best part of my experience today, watching Fantastic Beasts, were the trailers, because they had a special Dolby preview of the making of Top Gun Maverick attached to the trailers. And it looked really cool. It had Tom Cruise narrating, saying, hey, we brought all these young actors up in the actual planes, and they had to shoot their own stuff. Apparently, the actors had to operate the cameras inside the F-18s, right? So they had the camera, and you have to use the joysticks of your face. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. But it was interesting, and what I think it also did is it made me even more interested in seeing Top Gun Maverick, which I'm already all in on. Man, I'm an 80s kid. Are you kidding me? Of course I want to see Top Gun. I only saw Top Gun like 7 times in theaters. I had the cassette of the soundtrack. Everyone had that soundtrack. There wasn't any. That was the number one thing going then. That soundtrack with, I remember Mighty Wings. That wasn't even a huge hit. But Mighty Wings, which I want to say was Loverboy. I know one of the Loverboys had a song, and then you had Take My Breath Away, Berlin. Of course, you had Kenny Loggins playing with the boys, and Danger Zone, and Harold Faltermeyer, the theme. You had all those things. I remember running that cassette backwards and forwards, Top Gun, Top Gun. It was the biggest thing in that year. I believe was it 86? I want to say it's 86. In 86, I was X years old, and I remember having that cassette and just racking it back and forth, because that's how we did it back then. We did not have CDs yet. They were very close to coming. We literally had the cassette. You'd stick it in. If you had to find the song, you had to fast forward, right? Zip, 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 zip. You try to find the exact moment that the next song started on the Top Gun soundtrack. Mighty Wings. I think I listened to that in my basement when I was working out when I was a kid. Give me the Top Gun soundtrack and play Mighty Wings again. So I think it's going to do well. There was a really fun Top Gun 80s tangent there. Apologies, Nick. Let's bring it back to how well do I see it doing. I've got to look at what's going to come here in the next few weeks, because before you start talking about what happens at the end of May, I've got to see how things unfold with Strange and a few other things in that window, because I've told you so many times, box office is all about the films that are in the marketplace with you and just before you. And a little bit behind you, but more in front, obviously. Like when you look at Fantastic Beasts 3, another reason it's going to struggle this weekend is because you are running right against Sonic 2, which just opened at 70 plus million, and then you have people that already went to the movies last weekend that aren't going to come back out, even though it's Easter weekend. And also Easter weekend, you got people going to church and stuff. They might not be going to a movie, or they might see that Father Stew because that's a faith-based film. You've got that going on. But I got to see what's happening. The first thing that pops into my head for Top Gun Maverick, the first number, if you ask me, Top Gun Maverick, what's going to do opening weekend? I think minimum 75. Okay, I've got it at 75. I probably will go higher with that. I think anything under 75 for me right now, just throwing it out there without looking at the landscape, is not great. I think 75 is a good number. Thank you, Everett. You just, the goldfinch. I told you it was a bird. The goldfinch. It's how forgettable that film. There's one good part about the goldfinch. Overly long, a very hard book to adapt from what I understand. I never read the book. I wish I did, because I think the book, they say, is really great. The goldfinch has one scene, a montage where they bring in new orders. That smiling face, was that the song? That is a really cool scene where they're walking through, I want to say Vegas, like the outskirts of this like new housing community in Vegas, or in the desert, and they play New Order, and it's so cool. But that movie, otherwise, it's not good. Everett, gold star for you. I will at some point I'm going to like pull up an FYC item and say, tonight you can win the moose from Mitchell's versus the Machines, like that. That's how we'll build the base. Right now I'm not offering this, but at some point I might. This is actually from Netflix. They sent me this. So if you want the moose, stay tuned here to the channel. I've got so much FYC crap. I just want to get rid of it. I got the Dune update for you, Gore, if you want to talk about that. The Dune update is they're going to start shooting in July. Did you see that? July of this year, obviously. So they start shooting, and then God knows it's going to take forever to shoot, and all the post-production. Obviously, the release date's got to be 2023. I don't know. Have they already given it a date? I should know that. It's probably like summer or fall. It's probably fall. It'd be fall again, because they know they're going to have an awards film. Remember, we talked about when you have an awards film, you release it in the last few months of the year. You do not release it now. Almost every movie you see behind me was released in the fall. There's a few exceptions. Of course there are. Like Get Out. That's a great one right there. Get Out was early in the year. That managed to do award damage. But almost everything else that you see behind me, Rocket Man was messed up. That was a May release. It should have been later. But usually they know Joker, late release, Lamb, even though that wasn't a huge, awards film, but I'm just saying films that released in the fall. Moonlight, Good Time. Good Time was, I think, September. Was it August, September? But that's A24. They do their own thing. Power of the Dog, November. You need to have these films drop late in the year so that they are viable for awards. And the way that Warner Brothers, they know that Dune 2 is going to slay, right? It won so many tech awards this year at the Oscars. It's going to be up for Best Picture and should win Best Picture, assuming it's as good as we expect it to be. Denis has to win director after not being nominated for one. He gets for two, but you have to put that out in October. So I'm going to guess, someone tell me, but I tell you right now that it's October 2023. It has to be. That's got to be. I love how Warner Brothers is just in this chat. Soon, Chris. Soon. That's when Dune update. I just gave you the Dune update. Warner Brothers, why am I doing your work for you, man? Why am I doing that? You should be telling us these things. YouTube. I was just saying this. I was talking to somebody just before I started the stream tonight. Warner Brothers social media sucks. Hire me. Literally, I'll get on your social media and make it fun. Like, are you excited to see Fantastic Beasts? And then people say no, and I'll be like, well, then screw all you guys. Just make your social media like nuts. Have fun with it. People want that. Look at what Wendy's did. You guys follow Wendy's on Twitter? They're hilarious. Whoever runs that account is really good. A comedian, very clearly, probably gets paid six figures to do that because they've done so much volume. They brought so much awareness to Wendy's, a restaurant, a company that is from my hometown of Columbus, Ohio, so I'll always support Wendy's. But Warner Brothers doesn't do crap. Their social media is not good, and a lot of these studios aren't. Like, have fun with it. Take advantage of it. Get after it. And Warner Brothers doesn't seem to have much of a sense of humor. Most of the studios don't, I gotta say. They just don't. Yep, thank you. I'm just reading reactions for you guys. I'll just sit here and stare at the thing. Is it just me, or is most movies this year bad? First of all, X is the best film of 2022. There is no contest. X is number one. By the way, I believe, Gavin, you told me to check out The House. I haven't seen it. It's on Netflix. I love the idea of it. It's I guess it's an anthology, right? 3 different families inside of one house. It's a stop motion animation, or it's animation of some level. I love the concept. That's one of the reasons I loved Ghost Story. I will talk about Ghost Story till the end of time. The reason I love Ghost Story is because in that movie, remember how there's the house and you have different people moving in, and it just blows your mind when you really think about, wherever you are, the different people that have lived where you have been and their experiences. I think that's such a cool story. So I really want to see The House. That's what I heard it's about. And that's what Ghost Story did that really blew my mind. But X is number one. X is the number one film of 2022. It's not even close. It is, as from a filmmaking perspective, I love horror films. It's a great horror film. It's a great drama. It's a great direction, cinematography. Everything about that film just slaps, as they say. And I love it. So that is by far number one. I've got to think what else I have on my list. I mean, a bunch of very forgettable things. I mean, this time of year, of course, Batman, yes, the Batman. But one thing I want to say is, again, remember, beginning of the year, the studios do not give you good stuff at the beginning of the year. They know that they're going to save their aces and hold them in the back pocket until we get to September, October, November, December. That's the awards window. Why would you throw a film out right now that you thought was really great and had a chance to do damage at awards season? Why would you put it out now? It makes no sense because you're wasting your shot. Ask Paramount about Rocketman. The reason Rocketman didn't do what it's supposed to do is because it came out in May. If it came out later, it would have been certainly better received from an awards perspective. They had to regenerate all that hype, and it's all about putting the right release date on a film. That's why right now the movies, Gavin, it's not just you. The movies are not going to be great this time of year. They're just going to be a lot of forgettable things, maybe a few family films, but otherwise nothing that good. A few more minutes, we're going to wrap this thing. Man, you guys I'm like way behind on these comments. I got to get going. October, Aaliyah. I get a gold star. I'm going to create a graphic that's a gold star for Eric. I swear to you, I did not look for Dune 2's release date, but what did I tell you? October, November 2023. And look what that date is, October 20th, the end of October. It's right straddling that line because that is the awards window. Basic stuff. Jay, you watch Funny Face? So cool. Isn't it true? Funny Face does feel like an alternate timeline, different people, right? Different, same idea as Good Time. It's the universe. Funny Face is a fucking amazing film. Okay, I don't know if I can get banned for the F word, but who cares? It's so great. If I leave you with one thing forever, it's one's Ghost Story's masterpiece, and two is Funny Face is such a brilliant film, and you really need to find it. It's available on the streaming services, Jay. I don't know where you found it, but I know if you just Google Funny Face 2021, not Funny Face 1950, I want to say 7. No, it's a small film, so you're going to have a harder time finding it, but you need to watch Funny Face. It is great. It was one of my favorite films of 2021. Elvis, and then we're going to wrap on this. Elvis moves to the fall. I agree, June is too early. They're going for a box office success there with that effort. They're not thinking awards. I really think they need to push that. The film looks amazing. The trailer was unreal. It plays so well in the Dolby house, no question about it. So I agree. That's a very interesting release date, Elvis, in June. I think you push it, but Warner Brothers must think, they might, I don't know. I'm really curious about that release date. I hope they really love this film because I want to love the film. That trailer is one of the best trailers that I have seen over the past numerous years. Watch the Elvis trailer, especially in a big, loud theater. It'll just knock you out. It is really, truly stellar work by Warner Brothers, who really know how to put together a trailer. They are the best at it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining, and we'll do this again. I don't know about tomorrow or Saturday. Sunday night, absolutely. Sunday night is box office talk, okay? And then Monday, Tuesday, usually movies that we see throughout the week. But really, really appreciate you guys tuning in here to the Midnight Movie Talk, and we'll continue as the weeks go on into 2022, and hopefully we get better films, better than Fantastic Beasts 3. Ooh, garbage. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys. Talk